Oneonta and making this program a possibility. There will be time today after the presentations for questions, and we ask that you put your questions in the chat, and I will go ahead and read them when we're done. Because we have a wonderful panel of 3 alumna, would you please, when you put in a question in the chat, indicate who the question is for? And one final thing, I ask that each of you put your first and last name on the screen so that we can take attendance and make sure you get credit for participating in today's presentation. And we ask that if it's possible, we know that not everybody is in a situation where they can turn on their cameras, but if you can turn them on, it would be wonderful for our speakers to be able to see who they're talking to. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you today our 3 esteemed alumna who are here to share their experiences with you. First, we have Jill Clark, class of '81, who is a freelance makeup artist. Next, we have Heidi Shulman-Cohen, also class of '81, who is an independent film and motion picture professional in the costume world, and she's currently working on The Equalizer. And Carol Silverman, class of '83, is a film set decorator and is currently working at Saturday Night Live. So without further ado, Jill, I'll turn things over to you.
Sounds good. Hi, everybody. I'm Jill Clark, as Audrey said. My theater background has come in very handy over the past 30 plus years that I've been in this business. For the last 29 years, I've actually been makeup artist for World Wrestling Entertainment, which has been really fun. I've gotten to travel with them. I've gone a lot of different places and seen a lot of different things and gotten to be very creative. But my journey started out, believe it or not, working in Manhattan in retail, which was a great experience once I had left Oneonta and decided I wanted to be a makeup artist, because I got to do makeup on every age, color, gender, everything, to really expand my abilities, I guess. The nice thing is that in that kind of environment, people come to you, you don't have to seek them out. I did that for 9 years. I went on to start freelancing. I took some special effects courses, which were very helpful. I started doing sort of networking with other makeup artists that I met in that class. Heidi was actually the person who got me in touch with with my, at the time, mentor for special effects. And out of the blue one day, somebody called up and said, hey, somebody just called me asked me if I'd be interested in working for Titan Sports, which was the kind of parent company of World Wrestling Entertainment. So that's how I got my start. I've done makeup on a couple different presidents. I've done makeup on celebrities. I've done makeup on, people like The Rock, some people from Saturday Night Live when they've come on the show. It's been a lot of fun. I've gotten to do a lot of different things, meet a lot of different personalities. And I was very fortunate because in these days of COVID, my training through Tom Brumberger, who was kind of my mentor, he taught us very early on about cross-contamination and working clean. And so in the new era, since obviously television production has stopped down a lot, especially in where I am in Connecticut, that I've taken a couple of courses on sanitation and basically, cleanliness. And I found that I have done everything for the past 30 years that they're now telling us that we need to do now. So I feel like I'm a little ahead of the curve. Certainly in my case, but sort of enjoying the fact that I knew people like Heidi and Tom and people in this industry have kind of been really great about getting me into places. And once you sort of introduce yourself and show people what you can do and your personality, which to me is almost as important as your talent, things kind of have grown from there. I've been really, really lucky where I've been. I mean, sometimes, as you see now, I'm in my flower shop. You have to have a second option sometimes of how to bring money in. Certainly that was not my plan when my husband and I bought the flower shop, but it's been a really good thing during COVID because we've been able to stay open and I've been able to keep creative, which is a really nice addition, I guess. Over the years, I've also used my background in working at in the costume shop for 4 years, working on sets and props and things like that. Every summer, I work with our local youth group, and I've designed costumes for them for the last 4 or 5 years. I've worked at the high school across the street from my house, doing theater. My daughter does theater. So I've been doing sets and props there for the last few years. And that's another little, it's not a lot of money, but it's a little bit of extra that's been kind of a nice thing. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't tell them that, but I would do it for them for free if they hadn't paid me, but we'll not go there. I don't know if there's anything else I can tell you right now, but obviously please ask questions. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Heidi.
Thank you, Jill. And I love the fact that I was such a help in getting you your start. So Jill and I used to work together in the costume shop at Oneonta, which was the greatest experience. So I went to Oneonta, I transferred to Oneonta, and I knew that I wanted to do costumes from having to go to a party from somebody from the Rocky Horror Picture Show and knowing that what makes a costume are all the details, which I still believe today, which is how you create characters. After Oneonta, I had a job waiting for me for Izod Lacoste. So I sold infants and toddler clothing and knew that I wanted to do costumes and had a friend who turned me on to working on a movie. So I'd work in the garment center during the day and they were shooting all night and I would work all night. So I basically never slept. And after that, I decided I have to go for it. So I quit my job and I worked on a movie for very, very little money and I never turned back. And over the years, I've been working, the thing about doing costumes, everybody thinks, oh, costume designer. There are a lot of different aspects to the costume department. And there's a costume designer, an assistant designer, a wardrobe supervisor, a set costumer, a personal dresser. You can work in the shop. And over my years of doing this, literally pretty much 2 years out of college, I've been doing this. I've been doing all aspects of it. And right now I'm working on the Equalizer and I'm working in the costume shop, which I'm loving. I'm at a point where I don't want to be on set right now. I like being in the costume shop, and still the bottom line is, after almost 40 years of doing this, I still love what I do. And that is the one thing I have to say about being in this business. You have to love doing it, whatever aspect of it you want to do, because the hours are long and you have to give up a lot. So you have to have that fire inside of you, that passion to really want to do it. And I can say a million years later that I really do still love doing it. And I worked on a soap opera for 10 years. I was the supervisor there until it got canceled. I was Adam Sandler's personal dresser for about 6 years. What else? I've worked with so many different celebrities on set, off set. And it's been a really great ride. As Jill was saying, I've gotten to travel a lot with movies and film. And now I choose to work only in New York. Throughout COVID, it's really heartbreaking that Broadway is shut down. I don't work Broadway, but I'm in the union with a lot of Broadway people as well. And during COVID, as Jill was saying, we all need to do other things. I've made masks. So that was keeping my sanity. But then the business started coming back, and there's a whole COVID team, and I feel safe. I mean, I get tested twice a week, and it will come back to normal, but they're also, it's a lot of hours. Working in film and television is a lot of hours. So there's been a lot of reevaluation of those kind of things in looking at the positive side of this whole pandemic. But now I'm working again. I'm working on the equalizer now, and they take a lot of precautions and safety. And now I have my mask off, but usually my mask is on 24/7. Whenever I'm here. And it's been a great ride. And Oneonta was such an incredible place to learn. In fact, I remember the first movie I worked on, I was like, wow, Oneonta's costume shop is so much better than this one. And it just really, and my suggestion would be no matter what area you want to be in, do as much as you can, work on whatever show you can, because that's how you get your experience, so that when you go out in the outside world to start maybe doing whatever area of expertise you want to focus on, you have some background of it. And it's great. And I also love the fact that I know in Oneonta, when I had to do set decorating and on the sets, I reupholstered a couch. So it kind of fit in with what I was good at, but yet in a whole different department. And so what I can say is good luck to everyone. And really just, and what Jill was also saying, I want to piggyback on that as well, is that people can introduce you, but if you don't have the drive or the personality and the gumption to do it, then you won't get far. I'm going to put in a positive note. When you have that personality and I really want to do it, and the passion for it, people will hire you, because the bottom line is people want to be around good people who you want to collaborate with. And I know Jill and I had a great time in the costume shop, always. And so anyway, good luck to everyone. And if you have any questions, just ask. And now I turn it over to Carol. Where is she?
I'm here. That was beautiful, Heidi and Jill. I had a little bit different path. I went to the Williamstown Theater Festival in the summers, between years at Oneonta. And I had a whole bunch of different things. I worked on every single crew in Oneonta. I did lighting design, scenic art, props, wardrobe, every crew. And I was convinced I was going to be a lighting designer. And at Williamstown, the first year I was an acting intern, because that was the very first thing, I was going to be an actor, where I found out maybe I'm not so good at that. And then the second summer I did electrics. And then the next summer I went there after that, I did props. So I would say if you feel like you don't know exactly what you want to do, like, don't worry about it. You'll figure it out. And then I came to New York, and a person that I had met at Williamstown was the assistant production manager at the Manhattan Theater Club. And she got me a job on the prop crew, which paid like nothing at the time. I had to work all day temping in offices, and then I would go run the show at night. And from there, I got the job as the prop department head at Playwrights Horizons. And then I started working all over the place on little tiny off-Broadway plays, doing props. And then I met enough people, I got some jobs doing props on Broadway, although I was not in the union to actually work on stage till later. I got into one of the unions. And so I just shopped. I just, made stuff and bought stuff and brought it to the theater, which was really cool, working on Broadway. And it's very sad that it went down for all this. I mean, it's horrible for everyone. But it was a really fun time working on all these Broadway shows, knowing the doorman. Like, I once got stuck in the stage door with Bernadette Peters. I was like right next to her. It was amazing. She pulled up in her beige Rolls Royce, like right onto the sidewalk, or like there's like a little space in front of the Schubert Theater, and they just pulled right up on there, and she came out, and got in the stage door, and I guess he was like in the bathroom or something. And I was just like, hi. That was crazy. So that was a fun time. And then I did meet some people on an industrial show, which I don't think they do anymore. It was like a drug launch. It was like this huge thing where they'd bring all the drug reps for that drug, and like it was practically a Broadway show that we put on. It was huge. I did a few of those, and I met some guys who were in a stage local, and they got me into that. They're local. And then I was able to start working on like some TV shows and some little movies. I met a designer. And then I did movies with him for like 10 years after that, little movies that, you know, kind of got bigger and bigger. And I mean, I have worked on every single kind of thing: weddings, bar mitzvahs, events, commercials, big commercials, little commercials, parties, you know, whatever. And the thing that I had discovered was, after doing that one prop job at running on the running crew at Manhattan Theater Club, the prop master there kind of taught me how to shop. And that's where that all started. And I realized that's a thing I really like to do. And that took me from finally being able to run a show on Broadway. I realized I don't really like that. I don't like going to the theater and doing the same thing every night. I had friends who loved that. They hated the stress of putting the show together, and they loved to be there with everybody every night running the show. I liked putting stuff together. And on a movie or a TV show, that's what my job as a decorator is. It's getting all the stuff, getting the set dress, putting it all together. And it doesn't usually sit there that long, right? On a movie, it's at the most a few months. And you're constantly, you know, working, getting new stuff. It is a lot of hours, like Heidi said. I mean, you're always working a minimum of 12 hours a day. At SNL, I work on what we call the pre-tapes. They're like the parody commercials and the show parodies, like TV show parodies. And a couple weeks ago, I actually worked 26 hours, which I don't really like if you do that and you're not supposed to. But I don't know, what are you gonna do? You have a day, we have a day. We get the script Wednesday night and we shoot Friday morning. What are you gonna do? So yeah, there you go.
Well, thank you so much, Carol and Heidi and Jill. I'd like to open things up now for questions, and we do have some questions in the chat, and I'll just call on folks who put their questions in there and allow students to actually speak directly with you, because I think that's always nice for you to be able to interact directly with them. So the first question in the chat is coming from, let me see. Well, Beth Argeron is a colleague of mine, and she's asked a question about unions. So Beth, I'll let you go ahead, and then the next question is from Amethyst.
Thank you very much. This was really great. I love just like the nitty gritty of it all. My question was, you'd said a number of times, I got into the union. Can you tell us a little bit? Is it time in the profession, or like, how do you get into the union?
That is changing. The whole union thing is really complicated, and they're all different unions. Like Heidi is in a different union, or different local, right? You're in IATSE too, right?
In IATSE, different local.
Now Local 52, which is the film local, film and TV, they, I think, I'm honestly not totally sure, they are now, I think they're running like an apprentice program, or it's easier to get in. Like in the olden days, if you called Local 52, they would yell, "Who gave you these numbers?" and shut up and like hang up the phone. Like they were not very user friendly. but now they are much more user-friendly. So it can take a long time to get in. And if you know you want to work on film or TV, then you might want to call them and start the process. I think that I would probably work for a while first. I mean, they give a test, and years ago, people would take that test 3, 4, 5, 6 times if they didn't have a family connection. Now the family connection means less. Like, it used to really be important. Now it is less, and regular people can get in. I happened to get in at a time, I met these guys who were in a local in Port Jervis, and they didn't have a lot of people in their local. And so they were like, you should be organized. So I got in, and it just worked out that at that time, Local 52 was expanding their jurisdiction throughout all of New York State. So they had to allow in everyone who was in a stage local. I don't know if I'm totally explaining it, but on Broadway, the stagehands are in Local 1 of the IATSE, the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, which is literally the first one. They have been there since, I think, the 19th century. Like, they have been around a long time. And it's really, it's stagehands versus studio mechanics, which is people that are working on a film set. Did that answer anything?
No, it sounds so like adult and post-graduation. So I appreciate you just talking about the nitty-gritty of it. So thank you.
I could tell you also just a little bit about my union. I'm in Local 764, which is the wardrobe union. And when I originally got in, we had to take a test. Now they don't require that as much, but it's almost like if someone will hire you and you get 30 days, you can register and join the union. And but in order to get someone to hire you, you need to have some experience. And I know for me, I worked on a lot of non-union stuff to get my experience, to know what I was doing, so that when I did get into the union, I knew what I was doing. You know, when you hire a union person, there are certain things that are expected of you. You know, you don't have to be a tailor, but in terms of doing costuming, you have to know how to like sew on a button, or, you know, do a quick hem, or do things to make it camera ready. So whatever that may entail. It is worth it because it's a protection. You're protected because they can shoot 15, 16, as many hours. And if you're not protected, they can take advantage of you.
And you get health insurance and a
And
pension
health insurance, which is.
and a 401k. But actually, let me just add, if you want to be a designer, like a lighting designer, a set designer, or a costume designer, they are in a different local. They used to be in the United Scenic Artists, which is a separate guild. They were absorbed into IATSE as well. And the scenic artists are also in that union. And it is a lot, it's a whole different thing to get into 829.
Right.
And there's a new kind of a graphic artists have become a new and growing section of 829. It didn't used to be big at all, but now it is really getting a lot bigger. And if you are good at Photoshop, Illustrator, After Effects, learn After Effects. Everyone needs to learn After Effects because you will be able to get a job. So if you are interested in graphic design, it is a growing field. And if you look at the local 829 website, you'll see all their rates, all of their rules for getting in. And if you're interested in design, I really recommend checking that out.
And for costume, if for costume design, you would have to do designs and showcase, you know, your work and designs as well, and do a portfolio.
Now, for me, I should say, for me, I never joined the union because I was already working in a non-union sort of establishment at that point. I was working for World Wrestling Entertainment. It is a non-union shop. They're in Connecticut. They're not under the New York jurisdiction. And I actually spoke to someone in the union and said, look, would it make sense for me to join? And after speaking to them, they said, honestly, for what you're doing, it doesn't. I also have the benefit. There are a lot of days that we're shooting in the studio. I have green screen, I airbrush. We are literally shooting for our talent comes in and he's out the door an hour later, and I get paid for a full day because that's the deal that I have with them. So there's benefits to that as well. But like Carol and Heidi were saying, the benefits to the union are your protections. I have no job security. It's basically, Connecticut is an at-will state, which basically means they can fire you at will. I have no pension, I have no health insurance. It's all on me. So there are certainly benefits to the union that you're not going to get if you're just freelancing.
Okay, Amethyst, you have a question for Heidi?
I was just curious what your favorite costume you've designed or worked on is for any show.
I had a lot of fun. I worked on Sleepless in Seattle, which was a lot of fun. I worked on Adam Sandler's movies were fun from the beginning to the end. I mean, he was just wonderful, and he very loyal to a good group of people. And one of the funnest jobs, also another really great job, was a movie I worked on called Heartbreak Hotel, and it was about 2 days. It was 1972, and it was 2 days where Elvis disappeared. And so we had to recreate an Elvis concert. I had to talk to people from Graceland, and it was just so like you felt like you were really part of the Elvis experience. And so that was a lot of fun. And I just,
My type of movie.
yes.
I love that type of movie.
And
I love the 50s. So
Yeah, every job you do it has its great things and it has its not so great things, but you just find the good in it. I was out of town. I went out of town a lot for many years. I got 3-4 months at a time, and you just get to experience just different people, different parts of the country. I never did a job out of the country, but I've done a job in Puerto Rico and Austin, Texas, in Philadelphia, Seattle. I mean, I was pretty much all over the country. Now I'm in New York, but there were so many that they're really, those I think were my top ones.
nice.
Rebecca had the next question. It probably was answered, but I don't know, Rebecca, if you have any follow-up that you wanted to ask about unions.
Yes, thank you. So my question was, do you recommend joining the union when you graduate or taking a few years to do non-union work? I specialize in hair, makeup, and costumes, going more towards hair and makeup. So I wasn't sure if a union would be better or to try and find non-union work and build up a resume that way.
I would say try to work non-union, because hair and makeup and wardrobe are 3 different departments. So if you're in the union, there's hair and makeup is the same local, but costumes is completely different. So you want to like kind of figure out what you really want to focus on. So I would suggest doing a lot of non-union first and figure out what it is you want. Jill?
Well, and also do a lot of non-union so you can get that experience, get experience of being on a set, get experience of having to do something under the gun. There have been times like with WWE, I had to do a bald cap in 20 minutes on a sweaty wrestler. That kind of stuff that you're just thrown at. This is what you do. You have X amount of time and you got to be able to think on your feet. You can't do that as part, it sort of stepping into the union immediately, because there's a certain expectation. If you're in the union, you've got to be at a certain level to start with. So getting that experience first, working on smaller things. Sometimes I worked for free sometimes just to get experience. And then the next time somebody would call me that I'd work for, I'm like, you know what I can do. Now you need to start paying me. And you build up that way as well. You build your career that way. And those people will recommend you to someone else, to someone else, to someone else. But you've got to have that base experience. And, doing some of these jobs, you get crazy experience, you get to work, you'll see what it's like to work in situations that are, sometimes are a little shady, but sometimes they can be really great experiences too.
Thank you.
The next question is from, is it Kiora? If I'm not saying your name properly, I'm so sorry, but you're up. If you'd like to ask your question.
No, you pronounced it right. You're fine. And yeah, what Suko shows did all of you learn the most from, and which one gave you the most headaches and why?
For me, our senior years, Heidi's and my senior year, we did cabaret. And I think the biggest, I was doing makeup. I was the makeup designer. I was in charge of the makeup crew. And to me, the biggest challenge was doing the sort of the almost special effects kind of turn for the opening of the second act. They're going from, these kind of dull looking dancers to becoming skeletons. And it had to be done on stage. There could not be, anybody running out and suddenly making a skeleton face. It all had to be done in layers. So I worked with Dave Feldman, who was the lighting designer. And we worked with gels and different colors and layering makeup. That was probably the biggest challenge that I had, but it was also the most fun.
And my favorite one was also senior year was I designed Godspell, which Godspell is such a fun show to design to begin with. But it was really great how creative you get when you really are on such a budget, when you don't really have the money. You come up with things and it's like, and I look at the costumes today and I'm like, wow, that looks really good. Even, it really was. And the key also is you want to make your actors feel comfortable, and because that enhances their performance as well. And even to this day, because a lot of the people who were in Godspell, I still see to this day, they just love their costumes then and all these years later.
Mine was probably Three Sisters, which was also my senior year, and I designed the lighting for that. And I think that I hung and gelled every light in the show and plugged them all in, and it felt like I had really accomplished something.
The good thing is too, if I can piggyback off of Carol's, the good thing is if you're learning such a wide aspect, I mean, I use literally everything that I've learned at Oneonta, I use in my career on almost a daily basis. I use lighting. I've created props and sets. I've done costumes. All this stuff I do all the time. And it's in your toolkit. You just know how to do things, so you don't think twice about it. If somebody says, "Hey, can you do that?" Yeah, let me pull that together for you. And certainly working on the budget, like Heidi was saying, if you can make something out of nothing, you're going to have a job for life.
And that's what also is really, really great about working on non-union, lower budget movies as well, because you really learn how to just think on your feet and you just make it happen.
So Kiara, you had some other follow-up questions. Did you want to ask those?
I do. I will. This one is for Carol and Jill. What was your experience like working on SNL? Because I know for me, I feel like that's probably the coolest job you can have as a writer. So if I'm wrong, please let me know.
Actually, I didn't work on SNL. I worked with some of the talent from SNL, but it was at WWE. So it's a little different. I'll pass that one over to Carol because she obviously has much more experience than me.
Well, I mean, I work on the pre-tapes, which we used to be before COVID. We used to be on the same floor as the writers, just in a different section. They have a writing internship there that I actually do not know how you get. But we really didn't have that much to do with them. We just get the scripts, and it is really bonkers there, and the pressure is really high because people are writing things and pitching them. Like if you are a writer, you have to pitch your script every week, and it's a lot of pressure and it's hard. From the people that I have seen get hired are people that kind of already doing comedy. There's a lot of people doing stand-up who appeal to some particular group, and or they're already doing comedy videos that go viral. So that, or like you just kind of float to the top of that comedy world. People that work for The Onion or shows like that. I think that, other than that, I don't know how people get in as writers. It's really hard.
Well, I know too, with WWE having been backstage during live shows, there are times that we're being given the run sheet for segments 1 through 7, and they're literally writing segments 8 through 14 as we're doing a live show going out on the air worldwide. So there's a lot of pressure there. I would not recommend that. I've also seen a lot of people in tears, male and female. It's a hard job. I mean, especially doing something that's live. Saturday Night Live is live. WWE is live. That's a really tough thing. There aren't any do-overs. It's out and done.
They do actually rehearse a lot for SNL.
Yes.
Tuesday's writing night, Wednesday is read through night, Thursday they're rehearsing, Friday, Saturday they're rehearsing a lot for those things. I don't think we ever shot at Eastern Effects, and now we only shoot. They redid a warehouse way out in Brooklyn since COVID, and that's the only place that we shoot now.
Okay. Julian, you had a question for Jill? Is Julian still with us? I don't know.
Oh yeah.
There you are. Okay.
Hi Joe. It's so cool you did makeup for like the WWE. I didn't know that was a thing. And you actually did makeup. You said you did makeup for The Rock.
Oh yeah.
What
He's
was
actually a sweetheart. He's such a nice
Yeah.
man. He's just a doll. He doesn't wear a lot, but yeah, I mean, I've done makeup pretty much on everybody over the last 29 years. Hollywood people who come in, TV personalities who come in, musicians, and obviously all the wrestlers. So
Yeah.
it's been a fun ride.
That's cool.
Okay, and I think Cynthia's question for Carol may have already been answered. Was it, Carol? Cynthia, do you want to go ahead and ask it just in case? Was it answered?
I believe it was answered. I only asked that because I just finished PAing my first job.
Yay.
So, and I saw like one of the equipment that I was using had like a little tape thing that said SNL on it. So I was wondering, but I did have some other questions, but I think there are more people in front of me. I don't know if.
No, I think you're okay. You can go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, I just finished my first PA job. I found it very interesting.
What was it on?
It's a new Showtime show called Z-Way. So I'm very excited about it. It's kind of like a variety show. So they had actually a few people that I'd recognized, like Bowen Yang was on it. So I was very excited about that because I watch SNL like every week and have for like years. So I'm very excited to be talking to you guys because I love SNL. I wanted to kind of talk about how I feel like because of COVID, because we just did this, like all COVID protocols and everything was very strict and it was high stress, mostly because of all the COVID protocols. I feel like I'm almost kind of making up excuses for myself on why it was so hard because of COVID, but I also just like, it was a very high stress, a lot of hours, like you guys are not kidding about the hours. But I kind of wanted to know, like, how does one kind of graduate from being a PA to something with a little bit more, not necessarily power, but like I was doing crafty stuff and I was kind of a replacement almost for somebody else who had dropped. on the first day. So I kind of came in and had to really pick it up on the fly and doing it for my first time. So I really wanted to know, like, how could I kind of break the barriers of just being known as like a PA to kind of like working with the costume people and stuff like that. Like, I felt like I tried to make connections, but it was really hard with COVID because everybody wanted to stay away from each other, you know?
Well, one of the things that I do have to say is what interested you? Like, being a PA is not a bad thing if you can really get to learn what all the different departments do. You might say, "Oh, costume sounds fun," but then you might see someone doing makeup, and wow, I really like that, or props, or so many different things. So it's not bad to be a PA for a little bit, and then once you start zeroing in, you see if you could find out if you can be a PA for that particular department. Like, I know in the costume department, there were always PAs, whether it's a driver or a shopper, returner, various, not shoppers, shoppers are more union, but like, we have PAs working on just returns. That's all they're doing is figuring it. And that's part of when you get to say, if you want to be a costume designer, you have to know all the steps that lead you up there. You have to know when you tell someone what to do, you have to know how it works. So in terms of any department, I know my first couple of jobs, every day I knew I wanted to do costumes, so that wasn't my issue. But every day when I was on set, I would really just study a department just to learn what they do, because it all is a collaborative effort.
I would say kind of give it a little time, learn about production. Don't worry about moving up or out of being a PA like after your first job. Like, give it some time and learn, because there's always more to learn. I mean, there really is always more to learn. I'm still learning stuff. So you want to get the feel of what production's like, because honestly, even before COVID, it's very stressful, very fast paced, and long hours. Like, COVID didn't change that side of it all that much. Just now we all wear masks. And if we get too close, someone makes us put on an eye shield. That's like the main difference. And our lunch is packed for us. We don't go through a buffet line anymore. Yeah, I would say do at least a few jobs as a PA. Just never act like there's anything you're above doing. If someone says pick up cigarette butts, you pick up cigarette butts. If they say, go get lattes, you go get the lattes. And you just kind of keep your eyes open. I have seen a lot of people who are interested in camera go from being like just a general PA to being like a camera assistant, which I think is really cool. You see people move up all the time. You just got to kind of give it a chance, and then it will become obvious to you how to do it. Does that make sense?
Yes, that really helps, honestly. I definitely tried my best to do whatever they told me. I feel like I did a good job, but I'm like overthinking a lot, you know what I mean?
I do.
But thank you so much.
Sure. And no one expects you to know everything either. Like, it's almost better if you kind of admit to not knowing and say, I don't know, please show me the correct way.
Right.
Than to pretend that you know and then, get it wrong.
And most people
Also,
will
if
help
you
you.
have someone who you have a good relationship with, there's no reason that you can't ask for feedback. Ask and say, hey, I really enjoyed working with you. What can I do to help you more in the future? That kind of thing. And as a makeup artist, I know it's not my job, but I worked with I worked doing an infomercial once, and the director, I noticed the director it was non-union, obviously, some not in the union, but he always was drinking a certain kind of soda. So I made it a point, because I wanted to work with him again and I wanted to work with this group again. I made it a point that I made sure that he had a soda in his hand when I walked by. And to this day, I mean, I just sent him a birthday, hello on Facebook, and he was like, oh my gosh, I miss you so much, kind of thing. Those are the connections you make that are kind of personal connections. Sometimes it's like totally out of left field, but certainly asking for that feedback is never a bad thing. If you approach it the right way. I mean, I wouldn't walk up and say, what did I do wrong? That's a different way of doing it. But say, hey, I'd like to help you out more in the future. What can I do to, what would make me a better PA for you?
No, don't be that PA who's like standing around looking at their phone. Like if you're not doing anything, ask somebody. That really stands out in PAs. If you're not doing anything, just say, whoever you're working for, what can I do? That is like it's huge.
And then they'll want to hire you again.
Mm-hmm.
The next question is from Emily. Emily?
Hi, how are you? I did want to say hi to Jill first.
Hi, Emily. How are you? It's great to see you.
You too. It's been a while, but
That's been a while.
make sure that you remembered me.
I do.
Yes, it's been crazy, but I'm actually coming home this weekend, so it's exciting. Yes.
It's pretty much the same.
Yeah, I know. I was actually speaking to Mrs. Spillane recently about it, so checking in on how they're doing, and with Mama Wright also. So it's been good trying to keep up those relationships.
Good.
My big question was, I'm going into directing, and I want to know what you guys as designers look for in a director to keep the collaboration and an open dialogue, and what a director can do to aid a designer in their long-term goal.
For me, if I'm doing makeup design on someone, or even, the director, the theater directors I've worked with, as you know, I'd like to know what their overall view is, but if there are specifics that they want, like if they say, I see this person in a blue dress, or I see this person in an orange wig, I need to know that so that I can start from that spot. If they have inspiration of a certain vibe they're going for, if they can explain that to me, it's very helpful. Just doing I want kind of a 50s thing is a little bit more vague than saying, hey, did you ever see such and such a movie? That's the kind of thing I'm going for.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you a little bit more. Certainly someone who lets me be creative is great. And feedback is obviously very important. Keeping that open dialogue is essential.
Great. Thank you.
So we're coming up on almost 5 o'clock. We've got a few more minutes. If there are any other questions.
I have a question.
Okay.
Carol, this one's for you. Can you talk more about your experience working with Playwright Horizons? Because I hope to work with them one day, but I am frightened. So can you tell me about your experience?
It was a really long time ago, and I think a lot has changed. I mean, I haven't worked in theater, and especially off-Broadway theater, in a really long time, but from what I can gather, it seems like it has become a lot more professional. Like I think that the production standards are higher. I think, I don't think you need to be afraid of them. I think just honestly, I don't even know who works there anymore. I had a good experience working there, but it was a really small kind of operation at the time, and I think they actually have more money, and I know they have a better theater now, because that old theater had no stage right. Like it was a wall. Like literally you could not, like the curtain went up to the wall. And there wasn't that much stage left either. Honestly, I think just, call them, write them, look them up in TCG. I would say, don't be afraid. Like, just try. Honestly, what's the worst anyone could say? No. And the next person might say yes. Like, there's a lot of no's before you get to yes, or there can be. And you just can't let them stop you. I don't know if that helped.
Any other questions? If not, I have a question I'd love to ask.
I was going to throw something out there that they touched briefly on towards the beginning, but it's always a question that I think is good for the group to hear is, if y'all can kind of touch on the importance of the relationships in the business and how important it is to maintain connections and a good reputation.
Well, a good reputation is essential. I mean, all you need is one bad thing, and it's like it can spread throughout a certain segment of the industry pretty quick. If you are hard to work with, if you are argumentative, if you go over budget, if you are unprofessional, that is going to absolutely have a bad effect on your career. If you are easy to work with, if you're willing to go above and beyond, if you can work quickly and cleanly and professionally, that will also go a long way.
And if you also have a good attitude as well, because the thing is, it happens to be a very small business. I know that in film and TV in New York, I mean, you're constantly working with the same people over and over and over, and word does get out, and you just want to have a positive attitude and just really, what can I do? Constantly do that. Those are the people that people want to work with.
Yeah, just treat everyone with respect. That is the basic thing that everyone wants, and people will remember if you do not treat other people with respect, whatever position you are in and whatever position they are in. A PA could be a producer tomorrow, and a producer, maybe they won't be a PA tomorrow, but you just don't know where anyone's going. You don't know who they are. And it just treat everyone with respect, basically.
As a matter of fact, right now on The Equalizer, I'm working for someone who used to be my assistant on the soap opera. And it really, it's a nice thing because all of my assistants, I'm now either working for them or friends with them. I've maintained great relationships. And it's true, you don't know the PA who's helping you today might be, as Carol was saying, the next producer of tomorrow.
And the other thing is that, as Heidi and Carol both said, these are really long hours. And just think of the people you want to spend time with. If you're spending time 15, 16 hours a day with somebody, you want to make sure it's someone who is professional but pleasant, easy to get along with, doesn't have an attitude, is actually willing to work and work hard. I mean, as Carol was saying before, just standing around looking at your phone, they may not say anything to you at the time, but you will never get a call again from that same production group. And after a while, if you keep, if you act that way, if you're unprofessional, if you are unprepared, that's going to get back. And unfortunately, that does have a definite effect on your career. However, I have also gotten jobs from people who are like, oh, so-and-so said you were great to work with. Okay, great, thank you. Those are the things that positivity, that passion for what you do can also open doors for you that might not open otherwise.
And remember also that it's not just, say, the supervisor that hires you. It's the people that you're working with all around you that also recommend you. So that's always real important, because a lot of times I've seen people try to kind of suck up to the supervisor, and it's like, I get calls all the time for people, who can you recommend, or, what do you think of this person? So it's not just the person, your boss per se, it's the people that you're working with.
And if you just work hard and pay attention to what's going on around you and just kind of look alert, people are going to notice. Like, even if they're not in that department, they will notice, like, oh, that person really seems to work hard. And then if you get a spot for somebody, you'll remember, you'll go seek that person out.
And one more thing that I do want to say is, don't think that when you leave college that your learning is done. About 17 years ago now, I decided that airbrush, high def was coming in, and I needed to learn how to airbrush. So I made sure that I could airbrush basically any kind of medium. I'm sure Carol has, there's new products that come out that she needs to work with. She needs to know how to use different things. Heidi's the same way. I mean, we're all constantly learning and getting new skills to make us so that more, it expands our possibilities, and it makes you invaluable if you can do more than one thing. I mean, I can't tell you the number of people who are like, oh, I don't airbrush. I'm like, really? Because I can do both. And if someone's looking for an airbrush makeup artist, they're not going to someone who goes, yeah, I don't airbrush. Okay, well, next, just make sure that you have more than one string to your bow.
All great advice. We are just about at 5 o'clock. I would like to thank so much Heidi, Jill, and Carol for sharing your journey with us. If we could all give a round of applause, it would be very much appreciated.
Yay!
Thank you.
Yes,
Glad that, hope you got something out of it.
really
Here, I'm
terrific.
going to pop my email on there.
Yes, please. If you are willing to share your email with our students, that would be wonderful. I know they would love that.
And hopefully by next January, we'll be able to come back into the city and see you all again.
I know. That was always so fun.
It was. Okay.
I know it's nicer. It's nice being in person.
Yeah.
This is good. I didn't have to take the day off, so it was good.
We don't get to go to Macy's, Heidi.
I
So we
know.
can't give you lunch.
Yeah, that's the bummer, right? But it does make it very accessible for a lot of folks. So we really appreciate you taking the time and making the effort.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
anytime.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Bye,
Yeah.
everybody.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
guys so much.
Guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Heidi, it was
Hi.
great meeting you. I was going to ask you your favorite costume that you ever designed.
I would say, yeah, probably from the Elvis movie, because that was just fun. We got to do campy things, fun stuff like that,
I can imagine. So
but yeah, it was a lot of fun.
great.
And you took over for Danielle?
No. We're just helping out because alumni engagement has so much going on, but I'm in college advancement, so I work with alumni engagement. Yeah, so Danielle took another position and she's at
Yeah.
SUNY Binghamton. So we're
Wow.
happy for her, but of course
But,
we
yeah.
do miss her. So
Well, I have to say, and I know I've said this to Laura as well, we wish that we had people talking to us when we were in school. That would have been so incredibly helpful.
I just love our campus to career programs. I think they're terrific. And I just love that they're expanding the offering. So
Yeah.
it's
It's good.
it is good. Well, you take care.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye, Heidi.
Bye-bye.